You're right there, guys. How you doing? It's Spade here. Both Freedom Planet 1 and 2 are some of my favorite indie games that have some of my favorite boss fights I've fought. Here's my 10 favorites. You don't have to be the most complex fight to be enjoyable, and that's why I like the Monster Cube fight. He has 3 different forms. One where he stops the ground sending out shockwaves, another where a laser will try and fire at you, and a flower-esque form which can rain down projectiles, all of which can do a lot of damage quickly. And in between his, he'll jump around the arena sending out shockwaves. It's a pretty simple fight once you get the pounds down, but it was still a really enjoyable time fighting it. The Ancestral Forge stage is not one that I'm a fan of because of how confusing it can be at times, but thankfully the stage afterwards is an absolute blast. The platforming inside the volcano that's about to blow up was really well done, and towards the end these drilling things will start to attack, which comes from the next boss on this list, the 100 Drillion. As its name implies, it mainly attacks by drilling into the side of the arena, and whilst those drilling things from the stage can deal a lot of damage, which can lead to further problems. In this stage, you'll die if you overheat unless you have the flame shield, which you do get at the start of this fight, but if you take too much damage you'll lose it, and at that point the only safe spot from the heat is in the centre above the lava, which you won't get long in because of the attacks, and even when you've beaten him, you have to escape the volcano whilst it's erupting. An awesome end to an awesome stage. In the first game, Serpentine has some of the best fights in the game. The first of the 2 on this list is Asgunship fought at the end of Jade Creek. For starters, I love the build up to this fight as the storm causes it to chuck it down and the music dims. The way the visuals and sounds are done here are really effective. As for the fight, we'll start summoning some enemies, pretty straightforward, but once they're both down, he'll fire down lasers and missiles galore on you. Meanwhile, your friends will start to come in and help, making the whole fight feel more epic. My only complaint with this fight is that the last hit of the fight is done for you, completely destroying the satisfaction of destroying the boss. Seriously, who thought that was a good idea? If it wasn't for that, this fight would have been a lot higher, because everything else about this fight was awesome. On my first playthrough of the game, I was having an absolute blast with Relic Maze, and it left a very strong early impression for this game. It's also where the plot starts going, as it's here Spade steals the Kingdom Stone, which kickstarts the conflict, and unfortunately that Kingdom Stone has a guardian that wrongly believes you stole it, and it retaliates by swiping at you with its claws that are connected to arms which you have to damage, meaning you really have to be careful when to strike, and once they're both down, it'll try to bite you, leaving it open to damage. Apparently you can break both of its arms before the fight starts, but I've never done that. As he takes more damage, he'll try to land on you, his swipes will send out projectiles, and his patterns start getting a lot more unpredictable. But it's worth going through it all to get the satisfaction of this guy blowing up in slow-mo, which you'll see a lot more of going down the line. The Glow Dart Pool was a really fun area to go through. Both of the stages were fun to play through, and all of the bosses were fun to fight, with my favourite in the area being the last one,
the BFF 2000!
which is a combination of the 3 bosses you fought previously in the area. Its attacks involve charging right at you, which can seriously bloody hurt like the first boss did, dropping balls of fire onto you like the second boss did, firing orbs across the arena whilst trying to dash at you like the third boss did, and summoning holograms of the 3 pillars. If you don't pay attention to what attack is coming up, you're gonna lose health fast, and any health you lost in the fight prior carries over, so you really gotta be careful. But all of that just made getting the last hit incredibly satisfying. And then you realise the whole thing was a trap, so you have to rush back to the city, which is now getting attacked. Lovely! I can see why this boss was put on the Switch menu, because Robo Panther is an absolute blast to fight. In this fight you're going to be running non-stop avoiding his lasers that can be fired directly at you or across the ground, requiring you to jump towards the side, or lasers from his handguns, which leaves a very tiny opening. Meanwhile your mate Lilac or Carol is also getting damage in. Meanwhile your other mate Mila is constantly healing you as you take more damage. Meanwhile the visuals get even more awesome when he's down to less than half health. Sure, the constant healing makes this fight really easy, but this fight is a total spectacle throughout. I'm honestly not a biggest fan of the character, but I will give credit to his boss fights. I already brought up the BFF 2000 earlier, but my favourite fight of his is the Rail Driver. Bakunawa Rush was already a blast and one of my favourite levels in the game, and it went out with one of the best bosses in the series, which may seem weird given it only has 2 attacks, both of which involve lasers, but those lasers can cover a lot of ground. After 3 sets of lasers are fired, R is left wide open, but the laser now locks onto you, and this can easily get in your way, especially if you're trying to use the pinball flippers. And once the first health bar is down as well, the homing laser is fired on top of the other laser, so you've really got to pay attention to the tails, which made for a great challenge. After the second health bar, you dropped into another area involving those launchers, which I never really used in this fight. But I do like how the stage gimmicks are in this fight. And whilst this isn't the only boss in the game to have this theme, hearing the boss theme remix from the first game was awesome. The whole stage was a great way to start off the finale, and this boss definitely helped with that. What happened to Prince Dale in the first game was pretty dark. Seeing his father getting decapitated, and then brainwashed to serve breath and spitting was really messed up. On the light side though, it did give us some great boss fights. Both of them were a blast to fight, but the first one of his is my favourite. Sure, you can tell what you need to do just by looking at it, but that's easier said than done with the obviously fires that go right for you, and after each hit, it'll try and ram into you. After each hit, it'll gain new attacks such as trying to blow you off the ship, and lasers that fire in 16 directions. This is a hectic fight which will have you on the move constantly that also has one great song attached to it. Some of your long-term viewers may recognise this guy from my favourite Final Bosses video, where I ranked him in 3rd place, and yeah, I don't regret that decision. Since I've already brought him up in the past, I'll be brief here. The first phase can be dangerous because all of his attacks can cover a lot of the arena, especially when he tries to ram his entire ship at you. That will seriously hurt. The second phase is also like the first phase, as in his attacks can cover a lot of the arena. But in both phases, it's fun to dodge his attacks whilst finding openings to attack him. And this leads into the final phase, which is by far the best part of the fight.
All of his attacks are ruthless.
With that knife attack knocking out half of your health if that connects. It's a blast throughout with two of the best final boss themes I've ever heard. I was hoping Freedom Planet 2's final boss was going to top this, but... As a whole, I thought Murga was a pretty cool villain. She had an understandable motive. I like the way she was portrayed.
Hear me, Magister! The weapon that you Earth Dragons created, that brought death to so many alive people, will now be my salvation!
And that fight of hers is absolutely amazing.
Your suffering will be a masterpiece!
In the first phase, she'll summon waves of water and constantly flood the arena, as well as trying to drop bombs on you. Pro tip, bringing in a water shield, and this first phase is an absolute joke. In the second phase, she'll attack with streams of fire that can cover a lot of the arena, but it's a lot of fun dodging the attacks and striking back. The third phase can actually be quite tricky, as her swords can cover a lot of the arena. This is probably my least favourite phase of the bunch, to be honest. But it's satisfying getting the hang and knocking out each phase. Not to mention, I love the music here. In the fourth phase, yeah, she's still knocked down. She'll hide in the shadows trying to lash out at you. One of her attacks here can even take out nearly half of your health. And the music gets even better here. The fifth phase has her sending out flowers across the arena that can cover a lot of ground, as well as trying to crush you. And once that phase is down, the final phase begins, which is easily my favourite part. Also, you get a checkpoint here, and you'll be glad of that. She holds nothing back, constantly barraging you with melee combos, her own dragon dash, and when she's down to half health, absolutely covering the arena in spears. This is a very long fight, but at not one point does it get boring. Every phase is satisfying to beat, and the music in each phase is unbelievable. Honestly, this should have been the final boss in my opinion. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I'll see you later.